My story began in the warm spring of 2021, when I still held a nearly naive optimism about the future. I wasn't clueless about the ways of the world. I simply believed that connections between people, especially in love, should be built on the foundation of sincerity and trust. I met Mark through our mutual friend, Jessica. One Friday evening, Jessica hosted a small barbecue party, and Mark was there. My first impression of him was nothing short of perfect. He was of average build, dressed in a clean polo shirt and khaki pants, exuding a just right blend of confidence and composure in his demeanor. He told me he worked in a state government department, with a stable job and excellent benefits. In that relaxed and cheerful atmosphere, he spoke about his work, his plans for the future, and even his aspirations for a family. His eyes were clear, his smile genuine, and I let down all my defenses. After the party, he asked for my contact information. The next day, I received a message from him on WhatsApp. Our conversation started with light-hearted anecdotes from the party, then expanded to our hobbies, daily work routines, and views on the world. He seemed to have an endless supply of topics, and always responded to my opinions with enthusiasm and depth. We lived in different cities, hundreds of miles apart, but the physical distance seemed to vanish entirely in the constant stream of messages. He'd remember a passing comment I made about liking a certain indie singer, and send me a video of their concert he found online. When work frustrations got to me, he'd patiently listen to my complaints for hours, then help me sort through my thoughts with his logical analysis. He painted the perfect picture of an ideal partner, reliable, considerate, responsible, and deeply in love with me. Looking back now, those days of long-distance romance might have been the start of him weaving an intricate web. Occasionally, he'd go briefly silent. Messages would go unanswered for hours. When I asked out of concern, he always had airtight excuses. "Sorry, babe, I was in a big cross-department meeting, and my phone was on silent." Or, "We went to a remote area with bad signal for a project site visit, and I just got back to the office." I never doubted these explanations. After all, a driven civil servant being busy with work was perfectly normal. I even felt a twinge of guilt for my suspicions, thinking I was adding unnecessary pressure to his already demanding job. A year later, we got engaged. The proposal was romantic and heartfelt. At my favorite mountaintop restaurant, he got down on one knee and presented a ring, the exact style I'd lingered over in a magazine. My friends envied me, saying I'd found a one-in-a-million guy. The wedding planning only solidified his reliable image. He meticulously handled every detail, from venue selection to the guest list, with impeccable organization. When it came to financial arrangements for our new home, he was especially generous and responsible. His family offered to contribute $25,000 to our wedding as a blessing for our new life. My parents, moved by his sincerity, put up $30,000 for our home renovation fund, hoping we'd have a warm and comfortable start. Our marriage began to take shape around the topic of property. Mark owned two homes, one in the city, where we planned to live, convenient and central, the other in the suburbs, an early investment. My thinking was straightforward and practical. We should sell the suburban house, use the proceeds to pay down part of the new home's mortgage, and keep the rest as savings to live stress-free. But this suggestion met with strong opposition from both Mark and his parents. His parents argued that the suburban property had appreciation potential and selling it would be a waste. Renting it out to cover part of the mortgage was smarter. Mark echoed this, saying it was a better asset allocation strategy. Looking back, it wasn't about asset allocation, but about him needing to keep that property as a cash reserve he could liquidate at any moment. At the time, I saw it as a normal family disagreement over financial philosophy. Out of respect for his parents and for family harmony, I compromised. Our married life truly began in January 2024, after I quit my job and moved with high hopes into our carefully decorated new home. But that's when reality's sharp edges started to chip away at the idyllic life I'd imagined. The rose-tinted filter of our long-distance romance peeled away in the day-to-day grind. I soon realized Mark's life revolved entirely around sports events. His biological clock was synced to global game schedules. At night, he'd stay up until 3 or 4 a.m. watching European football leagues, eyes bloodshot, the living room filled with a restless, anxious energy. In the mornings, he'd drag himself out of bed to watch NBA regular season games. Equally consuming was nicotine. He smoked heavily, especially during games. Tense moments seemed to demand cigarette after cigarette. One ashtray could overflow into a small mountain in a single night. The entire house, from the living room sofa to the bedroom curtains, reeked of an inescapable, suffocating secondhand smoke stench. I tried talking to him, starting gently. "Honey, smoking so much isn't good for your health, and we're planning for kids someday." He'd always agree. Okay, I'll cut back tomorrow." But the next day, nothing changed. My requests gradually shifted from smoke less to "can you smoke on the balcony?" I told him I didn't want to live in a haze of smoke, it was harming my health. He'd promised to comply but kept pushing my boundaries. He'd sneak into the bathroom, thinking a closed door would trap the smell. He'd smoke in the living room after I fell asleep, assuming I wouldn't notice. I bought expensive air purifiers and aromatherapy machines, but they couldn't keep up with his nicotine output. We fought countless times over this. Every argument ended with his solemn apologies and promises, followed by fleeting, almost negligible restraint. What made me feel even more helpless was his parents' attitude. I tried confiding in my mother-in-law, delicately expressing concern for Mark's health. Her response was like a bucket of cold water, extinguishing my last flicker of hope. She said, "Mark's under a lot of work stress. Men need ways to unwind. You should be more understanding and stop nagging him. It'll only make him more irritated." In that moment, I realized I was an outsider in this family. His vices were rationalized as stress relief, and my complaints were dismissed as not understanding enough. I felt utterly alone. The first boulder to crush our marriage came crashing down in August 2024. I was online checking our community's property tax details, preparing a budget for the next year. Out of curiosity, I clicked into a public property transaction database to see recent sale prices in our area. When I entered the address of our suburban house, the word "sold" glared back at me, dated just 1 week prior, like a hammer to my heart. My mind went blank. My first thought was that the website had an error. I walked to Mark, who was watching TV, and asked calmly, "Mark, what's going on? The website says our suburban house was sold." His face betrayed a fleeting but unmistakable panic. He glanced at my phone and immediately denied it. "No way, it's got to be a mistake. Those public databases are always screwing up." His composure only deepened my suspicion. Instead of arguing, I called his father. His voice was deliberately calm. "Oh, that? Yeah, Mark and I discussed it. I found a great construction project with high returns, so we sold the house to invest." It sounded reasonable, but my gut told me something was off. I hung up and immediately called my mother-in-law. Under my questioning, she gave a completely different story. "Sold the house? Oh, right, Mark mentioned it. He said a friend started a chicken farm in the countryside, said it's really profitable, so he wanted to invest some money." A construction project, a chicken farm. These two absurd, contradictory lies pierced through the hypocritical veil his family had woven together. A bone-deep chill ran through me. They'd been colluding to treat me like a fool they could easily deceive. I confronted Mark, showing him the call logs, my voice trembling with rage. "Now, which version is true? Or are you going to make up another one?" Faced with irrefutable evidence and my resolve, he broke down. The color drained from his face, and he slumped into the sofa like a puppet with its strings cut. Head bowed, he whispered, barely audible, "I'll tell you everything. But you have to promise, if I tell the truth, you won't leave me." Seeing his pitiful state, the last shred of softness in my heart stirred. I nodded. He confessed that every penny from the house sale was gone. Years ago, he'd started dabbling in offshore sports betting, small bets of $50 or $100, occasionally winning a bit. The thrill and easy money hooked him. The bets grew larger as he chased losses, trying to win back what he'd lost. The deeper he sank, the worse it got. The money from the house sale vanished in less than a week in his desperate pursuit. I made him download the betting app and show me. The interface was sleek and enticing, with odds for every game flashing and scrolling, feeding greed. I opened his transaction history, and the numbers were staggering. $500, $1,000, $2,000, sometimes 3 or 4 large deposits in a single hour. That's when I understood the source of his agitation during games and his reliance on cigarettes. It wasn't love for sports. It was a reckless gamble with his financial fate. Faced with his tearful repentance and pleas of, "I'll never do it again, give me one more chance," I softened. Foolishly, I thought this was rock bottom, that having lost everything, he'd change. I'd promised to forgive him if he came clean, and I intended to keep my word. I gave him another chance. To help him, I scoured the internet for resources on quitting gambling. On TikTok, I found a recovery coach named Brother Tao, whose videos offered deep insights into the gambler's psyche and practical advice. Clinging to this lifeline, I forced Mark to pay for a one-on-one video session with the coach. I sat silently beside him, listening. The coach's analysis was razor-sharp, pinpointing the root of Mark's issues and laying out a detailed recovery plan. After the call, Mark seemed reborn, his eyes alight with determination. He swore he'd follow the plan step by step and quit gambling for good. For a while, our home felt peaceful again. He stopped staying up for games, put down his phone, started helping with chores, and even joined me for walks. I naively thought my husband was back, that our life was finally on track. But I underestimated the power of gambling addiction. That calm, in hindsight, was just the fleeting quiet before another storm. Old habits crept back like vines. He started sneaking game watching again, first with the volume low, then with earphones. The familiar, hated smell of smoke filled the late-night living room. His moods grew erratic, irritable one moment, overly attentive the next, as if compensating. His new phone became his lifeline, always clutched tightly, screen turned away from me. The final straw came one April afternoon this year. I was sorting his laundry for the wash when his phone, left on the nightstand, lit up with a text notification. I caught a glimpse of a payment reminder from an unfamiliar online loan platform for $2,100. My heart sank. Our mortgage payment was $3,900, and the dates didn't align. This wasn't the mortgage. I picked up the phone to confront him. The moment he saw me holding it, his reaction was explosive. He lunged like a cornered animal, trying to snatch it back. I held on, demanding an explanation. When he realized he couldn't take it, his face turned purple with rage and panic. He grabbed the phone and smashed it against the floor with all his strength. The device shattered, parts and glass flying. Still furious, he pointed at my head, screaming, "Happy now? Now there's nothing to see. This is all your fault." I was stunned by his hysteria. I couldn't fathom why a simple question triggered such violence. He didn't just destroy a phone, he shattered the last shred of trust between us. He carefully picked up the SIM card from the wreckage and stormed out, slamming the door. He didn't come home that night. I sat alone in the cold, chaotic living room, thinking all night. I began to wonder if he was not only gambling but cheating. What else could explain such an extreme reaction to hide his phone's contents? The next day he returned with a new phone, acting as if nothing happened, trying to apologize and reconcile. But I no longer believed a word he said. A plan formed in my mind. I needed an answer that would let me let go for good. I calmly told him, "That phone you smashed? I picked up the pieces and sent it to a repair shop. They said they might be able to recover the data." I'll never forget his expression, pure terror, his pupils shrinking, his face contorted with tension. He roared like a mad beast. "Where did you send it? Get it back! Now!" His reaction confirmed every suspicion. I looked at him coldly and said, "If you've got nothing to hide, what are you so afraid of?" That was the spark that ignited the powder keg. He lunged, his hands clamping around my throat, pinning me against the wall. The suffocation was immediate. I felt the force of his fingers, saw the unfamiliar, crazed hatred in his eyes. He growled in my ear, "I didn't do anything to betray you. Why won't you believe me? Why?" Survival instinct kicked in, and I struggled, gasping out, "The phone." I threw it away in the trash. His hands released me like he'd been shocked. I collapsed, gasping for air, tears streaming uncontrollably. In that moment, all love, all attachment, all fantasies died with the suffocating pain. Looking at this man, both familiar and a stranger, I had one thought: I need to leave him. Now. I demanded a divorce. He refused at first, threatening, "As long as I don't agree, you can't divorce me. In the US, the separation period takes forever. I'll drag this out until you're done." I had no choice but to tell my parents everything. My father was livid, trembling with rage. The next day, he brought my uncle, and they drove straight to Mark's parents' house. I didn't witness the confrontation, but I can imagine its intensity. My father laid out everything: Mark's gambling, lies, and domestic violence, tearing apart his parents' self-deceiving excuses. He issued an ultimatum. First, agree to the divorce immediately. Second, return the money my daughter's family contributed for the renovation. If you don't, I'll go all out. I'll expose every detail of his scandals to his government employer. Let's see what happens to a federal employee with massive gambling debts, integrity issues, and a violent streak. That threat hit their weak spot. For a family obsessed with respectability, their son's career was their bottom line. His parents immediately called Mark, ordering him home. In front of my father and uncle, he finally relented and agreed to the divorce. His parents transferred the money to my father on the spot. To expedite the process and avoid the long mandatory separation period, my lawyer friend recommended a mediated divorce. We both signed a pre-drafted agreement, and the entire process was completed at the court's mediation center in just a week, officially and completely ending this nightmare marriage. The moment I received the divorce decree, I felt no sadness, only profound relief. I thought the nightmare was over, but I underestimated the shamelessness and malice a gambler could display after losing everything. Shortly after the divorce, my ex-husband's cousin from his aunt's side contacted me on WhatsApp, sending a screenshot of a family group chat I'd long ignored and forgotten to leave. In it, Mark was sobbing, claiming he'd fallen to this point because of me. He said I was the hopeless gambler who tricked him, drained all his money, and forced him to take out online loans to cover my debts. He portrayed himself as a pitiful victim, betrayed and bankrupted by his wife, only to be discarded once I'd bled him dry. Reading those lies, my body shook with rage. I'd never known someone could be so shameless, calling the thief a cop. My first impulse was to jump into the chat, confront him, and throw every piece of evidence in their faces to show his family who he really was. But as I typed out a long, furious response, ready to hit send, I stopped. I asked myself why. Why bother? What's the point of arguing with him, proving my innocence to a group of people irrelevant to my future? They're his family. They'll likely believe him no matter what I say. This fight would only drag me back into his mess, draining what little energy I had left. So, I deleted the message and quietly left the group chat. Let them misunderstand, let them gossip. My life no longer has anything to do with him or his family. Their opinions mean nothing to me anymore.